Backrooms is a horror film directed by Kane Parsons, a very young filmmaker, only 20 years old at the time of this film's release, now 21. Kane Parsons made a series of short films in this universe. It is originally based on an image, I think, from a 4chan board. It took off into this whole internet mythology, became almost a sort of creepypasta-esque thing. I have not seen all of the shorts. I've seen the first couple of them, and I did like them. But I recently saw Backrooms in theaters, and I have to say, I was cautiously excited for this. There's some things about it I do really like. Unfortunately, I do think it falls a bit flat in some regards. The Backrooms takes place at this kind of, in the movie, it's a furniture store, and they find these mysterious rooms underneath it, basically. And in these rooms, everything is just a little bit off. Like you can see in this image, there's lots of chairs here. You see stuff sticking out of the walls. You see everything is just a little bit wrong. And Backrooms is always tied into this kind of idea of like liminal spaces, this creepy kind of nostalgia that we have for these empty spaces. Unfortunately, I think a lot of the problems with Backrooms as a film are when it tries to be a film. This is something that works really well as experimental shorts and a story you're trying to piece together yourself. In this movie format, however, I felt a lot of it seemed kind of sterile. It seemed flat. It seemed overproduced in a way which took away from what made this special. The story here also is unfortunately very willing to tell you what to think rather than show you, which I find baffling when the whole concept of the movie is based on what you're able to get out of these visuals. And I've seen some people say, oh, you don't get it, you have to listen, there's lots of hidden deep meanings. They're playing it on the radio, they're telling you what to think. The therapist is telling you what to think. The scientists that you meet tell you what to think. Everything is blatantly explained to you. And the concepts that you're told are interesting, but they were more interesting when I hadn't been told that. Despite this being an avant-garde horror film, it falls into a lot of basic cliche tropes from horror. There are two characters in this that pretty much just exist to be killed off. They serve almost no other purpose. The arcs that the characters go through in this are rather basic, and even a lot of the scares end up being so predictable. This film, for me, has a lot of ups and downs. I would say the highs are the opening scene, which is done in the found footage aesthetic, and the next real high point for me is a certain scene at a dinner table. I don't want to spoil it, but it takes the movie into a very different direction. It feels very bold, and that's when it really started to grab my attention again. And I was locked in for this final act. And the final act is good in my opinion. I've seen some people say they don't like it. I did. I even think the monsters that we see are really well designed. They look interesting. It's baffling to look at. The problem is the film, once again, ends with more exposition. It ends by telling you things, and it ends in a way that makes it feel like it's a sequel bait. It's trying to set up more. There's this whole big universe. What does it tell us about our characters? Do we get a conclusion to their arc? I guess, but not really. Backrooms ends by trying to be more than what it is. And I think if it had gone the opposite direction to a smaller scale, to the found footage indie roots that it's based in, it would have been a much better film as a result. I do have a lot of respect for it. There are bold decisions in this. There are things that are quite different. It does make some strong choices. I was just very disappointed because I thought it could reach much higher highs. If they continue to make more of these in the future, I hope they go back and further into that experimentalist route, because every time this tried to be a traditional film is really when it failed. This did not need that, and it really held it back. I gave Backrooms a 3 out of 6.
3 out of 6.
I wanted to like it more.